Hello, it's Karol, and welcome to another tutorial. Today we're diving into Unreal Engine to rig a car using the Cinematic Car Rig plugin. Using this plugin is as easy as filling up a fuel tank, minus the smell and the risk of setting something on fire. Imagine you want to animate a car in Unreal Engine. You could try using the Chaos vehicles, but that's often a real pain. It technically works, but consistency is non-existent. Cinematic Car Rig is a clever plugin that lets you rig and animate a car without resorting to physics simulation. You set up the wheels, the suspension, keyframe the parameters, and you have full control over every movement. So where do you get Cinematic Car Rig? The plugin is available on the FAB. Just type Cinematic Car Rig and it should pop up. It's a paid plugin, but if you often animate cars in Unreal, it's worth the investment. It'll save you tons of frustration and time. By the way, there's also a free version to try. It does have some limitations, but it's enough to check if it suits your needs. We have the tool, now we need a car model. There are plenty of options. You can use your own model if you have one, or download something free from the internet, like on Sketchfab, TurboSquid, or other free model sites. It's important that the model has separately modeled wheels, and preferably also the brake discs or calipers, because that makes rigging easier. I found a classic ride. It looks awesome, but we need to prep it a bit before bringing it into Unreal Engine. First step, normals. They're the directions in which the model's polygons face. If the normals are messed up, the lighting on the model will look wrong, strange shadows or light artifacts might appear where they shouldn't. Models from the internet sometimes have this issue. Select one object and add a weighted normal modifier, then right-click and choose Shade Smooth. Immediately the body looks better. Next, press A to select all objects. Notice the body with modifiers is still active. Press Ctrl+L and choose Copy Modifiers from the menu. Now every object has exactly the same set of modifiers. So with all objects still selected, go to Object, then Convert to Mesh. This way we convert all those modifier-equipped objects into meshes, applying our modifiers. Now let's ensure the model has a sensible material setup. To make it easy to apply textures and shaders in Unreal Engine, it's good to assign materials in Blender already. In my case, the body is one material, the tires and rims each have their own, etc. If your model isn't set up like that, you can select the relevant polygons in Blender and assign them new materials. For example, I select an object and in the Materials panel click New then Assign. This way, after exporting to Unreal, each material will appear as a separate slot and you can easily swap textures or materials in the engine later. Okay, we have normals and materials sorted. Now the key thing, splitting the model into parts. Cinematic Car Rig needs separate meshes for each part of the car. In practice, we split the car into body, wheels, and brake discs. So I separate the model, detach all 4 wheels from the body, and move them into a new collection. Just like with other rigs we make, let's name the front left wheel WHL.F at L. The brake attached there goes into a collection called brakes.fl. And name the body object body or car body. These names aren't strict rules, but they make life easier, so in Unreal you'll know what to attach where. In the end, we want one body, 4 separate wheels and 4 separate brake discs. Next, a very important detail, the pivot origin of each wheel. Each wheel's pivot needs to be exactly at its geometric center, otherwise when we start rotating them in Unreal, they'll spin like wonky eggs. How to do it in Blender? Select a wheel, hide all other collections. I do this by selecting the tire and pressing Shift+H. That hides everything that wasn't selected. Now with the tire in edit mode, select the last 2 loops, those loops near the center of the wheel. Hit Shift+S and choose Cursor to Selected, which puts the 3D cursor exactly at the center of that selection. Now exit edit mode and go to Object and set Origin to 3D cursor. As a result, the wheel's pivot is now exactly at its geometric center. For good measure, rotate the wheel a few times to see that everything is okay. Looks good. Now press Alt+H to unhide everything. Select all objects that are part of that wheel. Remember, the tire should be the active object, then press Ctrl+P and choose Object. We've just parented all those parts to our tire. Do this for each wheel. And again, if you're really in a hurry, at least fix the front right and rear right wheels. Now the wheels have the perfect center, but Cinematic Car Rig needs each wheel to be one single mesh. So select a wheel, make sure the tire is the active object and press Ctrl+J. This joins the entire wheel into one object. What about the brakes? First, join all geometry, then select our wheel. Press Shift+S and choose Cursor to Selected. Then select our brake and set origin to 3D cursor. Do this with all the brakes and we're done. you can set the brake objects to have a copy location constraint to their respective wheels, so they move along with the wheels. The body is done the same way. Select everything that belongs to the body. Importantly, exclude the wheels and brakes, and with one active element, press Ctrl+J to join them into one object. Double check that the names are correct for all objects. After joining, make sure the materials are still right. One more important thing before export: reset all transforms. All our objects' body, wheels, brakes should have position 000 in the Blender world, rotation 000 and scale 111. What does this mean in practice? It means I put everything in the center of the scene and make sure the car is oriented forward along the x-axis. This is very important unless you want to fiddle with it later in Unreal Engine. With all that done, let's export. I select all 9 objects and export them as one FBX file. If you have textures, you can either pack them into the FBX or hook them up manually in Unreal afterwards. Alright, now we switch to Unreal Engine. I open my project and immediately create a new folder called Mesh. Inside that, a new folder named Car, and one more inside that named 01. Why? If we ever add a second car or a new version, it'll be easier to find. Now I drop our FBX into this folder. Click Import, and it's the moment of truth. Unreal crunches the file, and boom! In my folder, 9 new assets appear and some textures. The names are exactly what we gave them in Blender. Now for the main event, the Cinematic Car Rig Blueprint. In the Plugins folder, you'll find a subfolder called Blueprints. The one we want is named b.p.carrig. Important practice: do not edit the plugin's blueprint directly. Instead, make a duplicate in your own folder. Why? Because we don't touch the original. If we break something or an update comes along, we want a clean copy to work with. And if we need to add a second car, we'll have an untouched blueprint to base it on. So right-click and choose Duplicate. Let's rename it to something like bp.mycar. b.p stands for blueprint, then my car. And done! Alright, open it up and see what happens. Okay, at first you see tons of nodes in the event graph, but don't worry, we won't mess with those here. Click here to go in the viewport. Ah, now it makes more sense, right? On the left we have the Components tab, but for now that's not important. What's important is on the right side, the Settings. These are the slots for our geometry. Here we'll assign the body mesh, here the front wheel, here the rear wheel, and here the brakes. Let's shrink the window and grab things from the content browser to match. So in the body slot we assign our mesh named body. The front wheel slot gets our whl.frm mesh, the rear wheel gets whl.frr, and the brake slots get front right and rear right brakes. Now in the blueprint preview window you should see your car body with the wheels attached. At first they might be in odd places. If everything is all centered, great! If it's all over the place, go back to Blender and make sure the wheels are at the scene center, everything is facing along the x-axis, and the scale is set to 111. Next, we set the track and axle offsets, i.e. physically positioning those wheels relative to the body. The front axle offset and rear axle offset sliders move the front and rear wheels forward or backward along the car. The side offset controls set the wheel spacing side to side. There's also a control here for the height of the body, as well as an overall scale for the car. By playing with these sliders, we position the vehicle so it looks realistic, wheels fitting nicely in the wheel wells and the car not sinking into the ground. I should mention that Cinematic Car Rig has a ton of extras, things like adjusting suspension stiffness, simulating bumps, body roll in turns, even drift settings. But today let's skip those advanced options. Let's focus on getting the car to sit and rotate correctly. So what next? Now we test it in practice. If you don't have a terrain yet, quickly create a simple landscape or even a flat plane in Unreal Anything for the car to drive on. Then drag our rigged car into the scene. We also need bp.path. Cinematic Car Rig provides this blueprint, which is basically a spline that indicates the path for the car. Now you can edit the spline, add points, curve it, etc. But for our car to know which line to follow, we have to set our spline in the driving section of the car's blueprint. Alright, everything is set. Car rigged, sitting on the ground, following our spline. Time for animation! As you know, in Unreal Engine we animate using the sequencer. I create a new level sequence by going to Add Level Sequence. Let's create a new folder for sequences and call it Sequence, and name the new sequence sq.mine01. A new tab should open. If not, click the sequencer icon in the content browser. Select our rig and click the Add button, then Add Actor Track. Our car will be first on the list. Now click the little plus and type in Distance Traveled. This is where the magic happens. Instead of manually dragging the car along the track, we just animate one number, distance. The car will then drive itself along the spline. So let's set the first keyframe with distance, 0, and then move the playhead further down the timeline and set another keyframe at a higher distance. And just like that, we're basically done! Press play in the sequencer and watch. One problem: our car is moving at light speed! To make the animation realistic, we need to slow it down so it's not breaking any speed records. We can do that by moving the second keyframe further out in time or by reducing the distance value at that frame. Now the car drives smoothly along the designated path. You can see that Cinematic Car Rig automatically turns the wheels in the corners and the suspension bounces over terrain bumps. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe. If there's a specific topic you'd like me to cover, let me know. And see you next time.